Hello, listeners. This is episode 14 of Let's Talk Hockey, sponsored by Bunkers Hill Hockley and powered by Pixel Factory Media. I'm your host, Max, and joining me in the virtual change room is my dad, Neil Artis.
Hi, good afternoon.
There we go. He's on the Zoom call, but he needs to make sure this is an audio only podcast. And oh boy, do we have a guest for the ages. Before I let him say hello, let me just reel off some of the career achievements and stats that he has. 176 games played in the OHL, 245 games played in the AHL, 214 and counting in the LNAH, where one season he racked up 62 fights and a total of 527 penalty minutes, awarding him the most penalised player and an accolade that he's received 3 times. He also has played 59 games in the EIHL and was drafted in the 8th round, 258 overall, in the 2000 draft by the Buffalo Sabres. UK hockey fans will know him from his time with the Belfast Giants and the Dundee Stars back in 2009 to 2011. And now, a host of his own self-named podcast, The Sheriff, podcast with Sean McMorrow, it is with a massive excitement and a massive grin that I get to introduce Sean, The Sheriff McMorrow. How's it going, bud?
It's going wonderful, guys. I really, really appreciate you guys having me on your show. It's an honor.
Nah, the honor is all ours. So I've given the lowdown on the show beforehand. We're going to get straight into period 1. Here's the hooter. Let's drop the puck on period 1 and the get to know you questions. So these are the get to know you questions. We ask these to every single guest, so answer them as openly and as freely as you can. First one is, what was your introduction to hockey? So tell us how it all started.
Well, for me, it really started with my mom really leading the way and just getting me registered and signed up for ice hockey pretty much at the end of the day. You know, I was 5.5, 6 years old. And, you know, she's like, you know what, Sean, we're going to try out this sport. It's a team sport, emotional sport. It was our type of thing. And, you know, every sibling that I have played like very, very competitive hockey, including my sister. And the 4 of us played growing up, and we were introduced via the mama.
Oh, that's great. One thing I've got to say as well, happy birthday to your mum. A little bit of a belated birthday. I know she had one very recently. Happy birthday.
August 14th is her birthday. And I do my recordings for my podcast, guys, from my mother's house. So I'm actually here right now because I'm using the same.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to have the best equipment for the best show, right? So,
Yeah.
and so I think she could even hear. So, yeah, man.
Oh, awesome.
Her ears are ringing.
Awesome. Well, big happy birthday to the mom. So, next one is quite an interesting one for me. I think it brings out a couple of interesting stories. Is what does your number mean to you? First off, any numbers that you played in, and did they have a specific significance to yourself?
So, when I was younger, I was actually number 20. Quite a bit. Okay. And it wasn't until I got to grade 8 when my family moved to the house that my parents still live in now. And it's number 23, house number 23. And I kept seeing that 23. And I'm a big Michael Jordan fan, and I'm a big LeBron James fan. And, you know, and I just, when I got traded to the London Knights, they actually had assigned me number 23, Mr. Don Brankley, the famous trainer, of the London Knights. God bless his soul. And yeah, he assigned me that number. And I was happy when I saw it because I always liked the 23. And then I just stuck with it ever since I was on the London Knights. And that would have been since I was 18 years old.
That's beautiful. That's fantastic. There's a couple of stories that we've had around from a couple of other guests. Is guys have had to pay for numbers a couple of times. Did you ever have to do that sort of thing? Did you ever have to trade off with some guys?
You know what? Like I was fortunate enough to, my first 4 years pro was all for the same team with the Rochester Americans. And, you know, of course I got a couple sniffs with the Sabres. Right. And I'll tell you an interesting story about that because everybody knows who Chris Drury is, the NHL player, played on Colorado Avalanche, New York Rangers, Buffalo Sabres. And, you know, when the Buffalo Sabres acquired him, it was my 4th season under contract. So I was kind of like, you know, getting to be a veteran kind of. And, you know, the Sabres bring in this big acquisition. And of course, he's number 23. He's always been number 23. So I couldn't be number 23 in the Buffalo Sabres camp because the big shot free agent was, right? And I was fine with that. Like, you know, my type of player, you know, we sacrificed a lot of stuff for the team, right? Yeah. So, but the funny part is I was blessed to be on his inter squad team because they usually split the NHL camps into 3 or 4 teams. You'll be like, Buffalo will have a team red, black, white, and gray or something, right? So me and Drury are on the same team. So we get out on the ice, and he can see my helmet, which I had from the previous season, still had 23 on it. So he realized that, hey, I must have been the guy whose number he took. So, and I'm a big fan too, right, guys? Like, I'm still starstruck in these NHL camps in my early 20s. And so he gives me a tap and says, hey, man, I'm sorry about that number. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, I felt honored that he even considered me on the same level. Like, saying sorry about the number, which means, hey, man, we're buddies, we're teammates, right? So maybe I'm going to make a big club this year. But no, it was an honor to give up 23 for Chris Drury. And that was kind of the only time where something like that had happened. Like every other time, either I got lucky or because I was a veteran, I was just able to get it naturally.
That's wicked. I love them stories. It's a question that doesn't get asked a lot, and I love it.
You should have flipped. You should have flipped a coin.
Hey, I would have been like, hey, we could flip a coin for the number, and maybe we could flip a coin and trade contracts.
That's a bigger bet.
Big free agent signing, man. Yeah.
Awesome. So this next question is going to probably bring up some more awesome stories. It's your favorite hockey memory, one from playing and one from watching. Okay.
Well, I'm a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan as a kid. Like, I'm still I support the Toronto team because, you know, that's where I'm living now. But as a kid, I was a big fan. You know what I mean? And my era of, you know, kind of at the age where you start kind of figuring out exactly what's going on, like 12, 13, 14, like that was when like Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark, guys like that were leading the Leafs almost to the Stanley Cup final. Like they lost to Wayne Gretzky's LA Kings. So I would say my biggest memory watching hockey, watching Doug Gilmour almost take the Toronto Maple Leafs to the Stanley Cup final. This would have been like 93, 94 season. I don't know what it was. It was magical. And, you know, they were one series away from getting the cup. And just as a kid, it was just so exciting. And, you know, like, go Leafs go, you know? So that was probably one of my best memories, that cup run by Toronto when I was younger.
Oh, definitely. And from your playing career?
Well, playing career, I would have to say, gentlemen, the experience of being able to play, for me, across the pond, where my ancestors are from, playing for the Belfast Giants, man, just being in an international arena from where I'm from, and just, you know, like I've never felt more proud to play for a team than when I played for the Giants. And just hearing like the bagpipes, man, just knowing how much drive and passion the city of Belfast has, and the history and the resiliency, and you know what I mean? Like I was man, like I don't even have to get myself up for these games. I'm just like, wow, like I felt like it was like a dream. So my best memory was probably the first game. First game playing with the Giants. But the one that stands out the most now, which I had no idea at the time it was going to be such a big deal, was when the first time the Cardiff Devils came into the Odyssey Arena and Big Bad Brad Voth, right, squared off with me in the center ice. And I had no idea how big of a deal that was going to be, that the guy had never been put down and how much he bullied the Giants the previous year. But man, after that game, I sure was told time and time again how much that meant to people, right? So that was probably right up there as well. The game against Voth the first time.
He was a monster as well. What a mountain!
I know. And Brad Voth, I mean, and this is the thing, guys. Like, obviously, the fact that I did well against Voth, and the fact that it went the way it went, like I've kind of used that to my advantage over the years, right? Yeah. But I have a lot of respect for Mr. Brad Voth. Like, this guy, to me, that guy was like an Eric Lindros of the EIHL. Like the man could score, he could set stuff up. He was always on the power play. He could hit, he put you right through the glass if he could in a body check, right? And he was always one of the toughest guys in the league, right? So I just had to use him as my nemesis, and like I had to do that because it was just the way it went that year, right? But yeah, I have a lot of respect for Both. I've tried to get him on my podcast. I just don't think he's too talkative of a guy.
Okay. Well, the gauntlet's thrown down. If he's ever listening, I think I've added him on Facebook once before, and see if he listens in. We can get him on for a show either way.
Yeah, Voss needs to come on your show, my show. Voss, hey man, he's a big character. He should be going on a bunch of shows.
Definitely.
So one thing, when you went to Belfast, I would just say the culture was that. So you embraced that as well. So that was like part of getting into that. Was that enjoyable?
Oh man, it was so enjoyable, and that's an amazing question. Okay, so for me, I'm a big culture and historic buff. I am, right? So I appreciate that stuff so much. Like I'm like geography and history were two of my best, topics growing up in school, right? So I appreciated the rich history that Belfast had. The fact that like my mother's side of the family is from that part of the world. It was just like I just had so much pride, and like I was just so happy to be there, and Sean's gone to Ireland to play, and like what I mean, like it was such a big deal for me. So like, and then the fact of how awesome the program was and how well the Belfast Giants were ran by Todd Kelman and Steve Thornton, and just like I could go on and on and on, but yeah, man, it was. I would say the way the people are in the city affected me so much that it made me play even better and more prideful.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That's cool.
So moving on, you've kind of alluded to some of the answers in this question, but what are the teams or players that you follow? We know you're a big Toronto guy. Are you keeping in touch with other guys still? Like, what are you still doing?
Yeah, so hockey is such a small world, right, guys? And you get to play with someone, even if it's just for one season, like just the things that you go through with that player, and the battle and the just going to war with guys. You develop a very special bond. And the funny thing is that over time, sometimes you don't really talk to guys in a very long time, and then boom, you might start a podcast, and you might start reaching out to guys to be guests, and through that, you're connecting with people that are very important to you and that were part of your journey. And like pretty much what I'm getting at is what our shows do for us, right? And so I am now in contact with all my buddies because of my show, and I'm so grateful for that. So to answer your question, the extended form, I'm because of the show, now I'm able to stay in contact with everybody. Awesome. Before it was select a few that I just happened to still be in touch with, maybe because we're in the same city or whatever. But now it's everybody, and I'm very happy. I'm a big networking dude.
Awesome. That's great to hear. So you mentioned earlier with your hockey memory, watching Doug Gilmour and everything like that. With the role that you did, who were the players that inspired you?
Well, I mean, Ty Domi, even though he's a short, stubby heavyweight and I'm a tall, lanky one, even though I look like my style is nothing compared to his, he's just the character that he showed playing for the Leafs and the extracurricular stuff. And I know some guys don't like the celebrations, but he did that a little bit, and he brought some flair to the game. And when he was doing this, the bar and all that kind of stuff, right? And so yeah, man, this is my home team's tough guy doing all this, so it had a big impact on me. And I realized that, hey, if you're willing to be a big character, there's a spot for that type of people, right? Yeah. So I saw that with Ty Domi. I saw that with Rob Ray from Buffalo. He was a big community guy, and I kind of tried to mirror that type of role as well. So, I mean, guys like Rob Ray, Ty Domi, Eric Bolton is another name. We had the same agent, and he really took under his wing, which I really appreciated. That's another guy that as soon as I get a hold of him, man, boom, it's going to be like nothing ever changed, right? But another guy, I haven't talked to Eric Bolton in probably about 20 years, right? But I'd love to have him on my show, and I will get in touch with this man.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's Rob Ray, Ty Domi, and Eric Bolton. 3 biggest names that made a big impact on me.
Fantastic. So we move on to something a little bit more comprehensive now. So your dream line. The rules for this question are: you've got to put yourself on the ice, can't be sitting on the bench, and you've got to have the 5 guys who are out there with you, from goalie, D, and your line mates out there with you.
Right on. Well, I mean, me being the big hockey fan that I am, obviously growing up in Canada, 2 of my favorite players were Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now,
yeah.
The great one's a left-hand shot, so we're gonna have to throw him on the left side, right?
Okay.
Magnificent Mario, Super Mario Lemieux, his hands are pretty good, so I think I could have him at center.
That
right?
sounds good. Yeah.
And then you're gonna have to have yours truly on the right side, because those guys, they need someone to set them up and tell them where to be and stuff, right? So I think I'd be a good role for the right side. So then on defense, this is a big one, man. Like I had to put Al McInnes on the right side, because when I grew up, he had the hardest slap shot. He would always be winning the hardest slap shot competition in those all-star games. And the man was getting to 100 miles per hour. And this was like back in the 90s when the sticks weren't even close to the technology that they are now, right? Yeah. You got to think about that, man. They're using these wooden sticks that aren't even like, right?
Oh, no, yeah.
Now the kids have all this technology. They got wheels on their bag. They got all this weird stuff going on, man. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So Al McInnes on the right side, and then the left side on defense. It's hard, man, but I'm gonna have to go with Big Chris Pronger, because we need some size. You know what I mean? Like me, Mario, and Pronger, we're the size in the starting 5, and then the great one and Al McInnes. They're like carrying their loads. So
he got in the pipes.
Who's backing up this awesome line?
I'm gonna have to go with Grant Fuhrer on that one, man.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Yeah, Coco.
Yeah, what a pick! What a goalie! Well, that's a line and a half. We've not had anything close to that before. Like, wow. Yeah, I'd love to see that fly up.
If Mario and the great one, if they pick up their game, then they can play with the Sheriff. So
they've got to earn their stripes. They've got to get on that line first. Nothing comes free. So we're coming to the end of the first period, but we've got one last little thing.
This was an awesome period, man.
I know, it's not over yet.
Coach will be happy in the room.
we got one last little thing, the lightning round. Strike up the music, Editor Dan. It's the lightning round. So, coming at you fast and quick. Respond as quick as you can. It's your favorite or your best to these questions. So, here we go for the lightning round. Favorite or best hockey brand?
Brand?
Yeah.
CCM.
Nice. Away rink?
Syracuse War Memorial Arena.
Sounds good. An opposition to play against?
The team.
An opposition to play against?
Yeah.
I would love to play against the Montreal Canadiens.
Favorite or best jersey?
Ooh. You know what? That Seattle Kraken jersey, man.
Oh, the new one.
Yeah, man. It looks pretty cool.
That logo is tasty. White or black stick tape?
Black.
On your skates, are you tucked or you flop tongues?
I'm actually tucked, man.
Okay. So nothing's showing.
Favorite or best coach?
Randy Cuddyworth.
Post game drink of choice?
Guinness.
Sounds good.
Whoa! And then finally your podcast guest. It's a tough one.
Ooh. Oh, well, I would have to say my first guest that I had, Chris Stewart. It'll be very memorable, and I'll always be happy with that selection.
Well, that's another tie you've got with Nottingham, because he came over and so did his brother as well.
That's right.
Played in the
Chris
UK.
and Anthony, they both were over there. That's right. Nice.
Yeah, Anthony during the lockout, and then Chris Stewart came over for about 2/3 of a season. I think he was here for a while. Played really well. Yeah.
Did you get to meet them?
I got to meet Anthony. I didn't get a chance to meet Chris, unfortunately.
Great guys.
Fantastic.
Anthony's TV career has
I know.
off. Yeah, he's earned his way to be a regular on the main panel. He's doing really, really good. I think it was in the bubble. The Vancouver Canucks were playing I think Vegas or somebody else, and he was covering those games, so I got to watch him a lot. But like from he was good when he started, but man, you should see the improvement. Like, it's nice to see that like someone like improve like that in their journey, and Stu is a perfect example. Yeah. Well, that brings a close to the first period. I've still got a massive smile on my face. It's not going to go away for probably a week after this. So let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. Quiet. See, there you go again. Because I can't be quiet, I made that first period go into overtime. That's perfect. We can take it longer. Right. We'll see you after the break for period 2. So, welcome back from the period break. Hopefully you got to listen to a couple of good adverts in there, something that piques your interest. But we've still got the Sheriff with us, and we're going to go over some more of his playing career. And the first one I wanted to ask, and I'm skipping over a bit of your career here, but we're jumping straight into the Elite League. And why Belfast? How did it come on your radar? Kind of talk us through kind of how it all came about. Awesome. Very exciting topic. So the year before the Belfast Giants, I'm playing in the American Hockey League for Chicago Blackhawks AHL affiliate, the Rockford Ice Hogs. Okay. Yes. Now, the Rockford Ice Hogs general manager is Mr. Mark Bernard, who was a goaltender in the Super League, and I think maybe the first couple years of the Elite League, when professional ice hockey first started in the UK. Yeah. So Mark Bernard, he's got obviously he knows everything about the league. He knows that guys that are kind of getting around, getting to that 30 age marker where they got to decide, am I okay with this, or am I ready to see something different? Right. And I was 28 years old and I was ready to see something different. And he knew it. He also knew I had some ancestry from that part of the world, which was a huge advantage. So he was actually my agent and brokered the deal between me and Todd Kelman for my contract. Right. So I was sitting in my general manager's office in Rockford, Illinois, USA, negotiating a contract with Todd Kelman over in Belfast, right? So I knew what my pay was going to be, what kind of car I was going to get, all that type of stuff before I even left Rockford. So it was great knowing that I had that connection, right? And then, he even threw a little fight bonus in there and everything. Like it was pretty cool stuff. But that was how it sparked. Like, my general manager just happened to be very close with the league. That's awesome. This is the kind of thing as fans we don't hear the goings on. Like in the NHL, who's talking to who, who's got whose agent, this, that, and the other about everything. Like, it's so public, it's so out there. Over here, we don't get any sort of background sort of thing. Yeah.
So that's just a good coincidence that he was that and he sparked that with that. That's a good story.
Yes, exactly. It was a great coincidence. But even to add to that, guys, half my ancestry is Irish and English, right? So I was able to qualify because my grandparents were born over there for a 5-year ancestry visa. And the Giants told me to apply for it because they knew I'd be eligible and it'd be better for both of us, right? So it was just my background's from there. It was a great opportunity, great hockey program, great city. Everything was great. So I had to go.
So that's why you've got dual nationality, yeah?
Well, I like how it works is if you have a grandparent that was born in the country that you're trying to work in, you qualify for an ancestry working visa. That's the category that they put it in. And the Giants knew that because obviously there had been other players that had grandparents from, you know what I mean? And they'd done that before. So they're like, yeah, if you do that, you know, if you want, you can stay after the season's done. You could work wherever you want. You know what I mean? Cool. So they just said it'd just be better for everyone. And it was. Yeah. And it was an honor, you know, to have that visa and to be able to work over there.
That's brilliant. Awesome.
It's brilliant. So I wanted, now we've got that. That's a fantastic stories and stuff that we just don't get to hear. Like I said, I'm going to jump right the way back just after juniors and the process of being drafted. So you went quite late on in the rounds, and we kind of hear through the media, like, you know, guys are having meetings and interviews and stuff. Did you know that you were getting picked up by Buffalo, and were there other teams interested? Kind of what was your draft experience, your draft process?
So I was rated the entire season to be taken in the draft, but I was always kind of, you know, rated really late. But mixed feelings, you know, because at that time, you know, you have to be so confident to be even considered at that level, to be playing at that level. You have to be so confident. You got to think you're the best at what you do to even give yourself a chance, right? So you want to be rated as high as possible. It was a 9-round draft, and I was rated. I was drafted in the 8th round. You know, 250th overall. But it was an honor. It was an absolute honor. Did I know it was going to be Buffalo? No, I didn't. Who did I think it was going to be? I thought it was going to be San Jose. Because San Jose, they showed the most interest. They actually called me for an interview at the big hotel that they were staying at. And I don't, because my draft was in Calgary. I don't know. For some reason, their people were in Toronto, the San Jose Brass. And they brought me to the hotel, and it was the most difficult interview I've still to this day ever had in my life, man. The way that NHL teams do it, if they have a guy on their radar and they're thinking of drafting him, they'll put like 8 to 10 executives in the room, right? So you got guys all over the place.
Yeah.
Is this guy will fire a question, then that guy, then that guy, then that guy, then that guy. And they want to see how you handle it. They kind of want to see how you act under pressure. They want to see like your etiquette, and like, it's crazy, right? But they're all being paid, you know, good salaries to do these things. And the higher the levels go, the crazier things seem, but I have to appreciate it because it's the show. Right?
Yeah.
My mother actually was in the room and witnessed this interview. We talk about it once in a while. Remember that interview with the San Jose Sharks, right? And yeah, it was awesome. And, you know, at the end of it, you know, shaking all their hands, all the 10, 12, and, you know, and so, yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that was the team that kind of had me rated the highest. So I qualified for a special interview, a pre-draft interview. Didn't get interviewed by any other teams in person, but there was a lot of like contact through like the agent that everyone knew that I had and all that kind of stuff. And then with the Buffalo Sabres, just because this is kind of like a cool little thing that my agent did at the time. For my draft, it was in Calgary. So that's about a 4-hour flight from Toronto, right? And my agent had a rule that you had to be rated in the first 3 rounds in order to actually physically go to your draft. And the reason being, I'm sure you guys are probably thinking about, is it's absolutely devastating for an 18-year-old kid to be flying to a city, to a big draft, to have his whole family and supporters all with them, and then not to get called, to have called, right?
Yeah.
For some kids, it could kill their confidence. It could ruin their careers, mentally, all that kind of stuff, right? So my agent at the time, Mike Gillis, he had that rule. I was rated in the 7th round, so I didn't have a chance to go. So he said, you know, stay at home, have a nice barbecue, because the drafts are always in the summers, right? And be with your family, and, you know, and follow it online, and you know, hopefully you get a call, and that's exactly what I did, and it was an incredible day.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool.
That's fantastic. That's a peek behind the curtain that most guys don't, like, you know, don't really share, or you don't really hear about. And thanks for sharing it. That's the sort of stuff we love to get out of people.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm going to move to more of what you're kind of known for, and that is your on ice antics And something that I've noticed, I've gone back, I've done the scouting report, I've checked the YouTube videos, and one thing that you seem to do with every single opponent is you jersey that guy within an instant. Was that always part of your plan going into a fight?
Well, okay, so most of the time, and I'll explain why.
Go ahead.
Now, I have gotten a lot of great insight on the mind of the warriors on the ice, right? Because it's just turning out that that's kind of like the majority of my guests. It's guys that kind of did that, and you know what I mean? And so I'm hearing these guys talk, and a lot of them are the same as I am, as the way that they look at it. Not everybody is John Nasty Morasti. Not everybody can do toe-to-toe fighting for 10, 15, 20 years and still be alive, right? Yeah. So you want to play as long as you can. I had Mr. Dennis Bondy on my show the other day, and man, he explained it so well. You want to play as long as you can. You have to protect yourself. Part of the goal is to try to not to get hit. The guys that just stick their head out there and are doing this and are going toe to toe. I mean, man, is it ever entertaining? But man, is it ever dangerous and disrespectful? To be giving someone a target just to see how many times or who can do it faster. And that's entertainment, but it's not really a fight. A fight is having strategy and defense and offense, and it's a battle, man. And you're representing your team, your city, your coaches, on your jersey. There's a lot of pride that goes into it, a lot of emotion. Sometimes it's just your team's down 4-0 and you just got to change the momentum of the game, right? And see, we're talking like this, right, guys? But hockey's not really played like this anymore. And that's the interesting thing, because people that have been following the game, like how Neil said, like when he first came to now, people that have been following the game for the past 20 years have seen how it's changed a little bit. Now, I appreciate the skill. I love it. I just think that they need to try to bring some of the character back a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't want them to take away. If I was a coach, my team would probably be one of the most offensive teams. Trust me, I'm a student of the game. I love it. I just had to play that role just to be at the highest levels.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, like you say, it's not all about the fight. It's as I say, it's about the strategy that the chirping does, and the boarding maybe, and say some heavy hits and checking it. Then that unsettles them. That makes you then on the winning side. You go, hey, we've got the top hand here. We're gonna score, and you're back on it. And I say and now I understand that more because of like what Max has told me and what I've seen, and you learn more, and that's what makes me interested more now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Neil, if you think about it, okay, so let's just say you're going to a Belfast Giants game and Nottingham's in town, and boom, Nottingham scores 3 goals in the first 2 minutes of the game. Nottingham's up 3-0, right? Yep. The fans are all quiet. Everyone's like, geez, man, this is going to be a bad night or what? Yeah. Then you got someone like Keith or someone comes out there, just challenges the biggest guy on Nottingham's bench, and the guy comes out and Keith just battles him, puts him down. Everybody's cheering. Yeah. That now the momentum has changed.
Yeah. Right? They got the upper speed. As I say, second period hits, bang, it's 3-3. Wow, where did that come from?
There you go.
That's it. Yeah, I got it. I got it, and I love it.
It doesn't work all the time, but that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, cool.
So going into fights and going into games and that sort of thing, what kind of research were you doing beforehand? Like, were you checking out the other team's roster? Were you knowing who you're matching up against? Were you doing that in warm-ups, or was that happening games before?
100% was checking guys out like days before the game. Again, like technology's changed, right? Like after 2005, YouTube came out. So once that came out, all you had to do is just go on your phone, put in someone's name, and you could watch every fight in their career. Like, you know what I mean? But previous to 2005, that wasn't available. So you'd have to be getting like DVDs and VHS tapes, even, the older ones and
old school.
Guys. I mean, when I played for Belfast, to be honest, guys, like that for me was trying to figure out
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I've listened to that episode, I think 2 or 3 times out. Yeah, I love that episode. Honestly, I love Weapon X. I want to get him on the show. I want to chat about his thing because he's.
I'll tell him. I'll tell him that. Yeah,
please. That's awesome. Thank you. But yeah, he was one of my favorite players growing up watching, and one of my mates' favorite as well. But yeah, like that sort of stuff that you did. You also did it with a couple of interviews, like calling out Brad Voth a couple of times.
Yeah,
like that's that kind of
hard-time tough guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was a few radio interviews and stuff I found online, and a few video interviews and stuff.
Yeah, we had some fun with that.
Yeah, you really did. I love it. I love you for that. That's wicked. That's just that's the kind of stuff like we're gonna get to in the third period, but characters are just kind of missing from the game. But I kind of want to move again into more of the fighting thing of. We just had a guy on called Matthew Tucson. He was on our last episode. He's playing for the Panthers this season. Very dynamic player. Doesn't mind getting messy and getting dirty and getting in the rough areas and roughing it up and stuff. So similar to yourself. And we kind of talked to him about how do you flip that switch? Are you always on from the moment the puck drops, or is it something you have to do? You kind of alluded to it whilst between periods whilst we were chatting. But kind of go into that your mindset of like, right, how do I'm going into this battle right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, guys that had to play the role for their team always had to be ready. And that was one of the things that separated a guy that would play for 10 years and a guy that just played a couple of years pro. It's the mental toughness of always being ready, even when you're not feeling good. My shoulder hurts. Oh, and does my wrist ever hurt? Even a pinky finger. Oh, man, you don't even realize how much we use our hands. Yeah. You nick your pinky and it's hurt for a couple days, and you bang it against something, you pick up a drink wrong, you realize how much you use these things, man. And it could be so painful. But the 10,000 people in the stands don't know that your hand's painful. Like it's not, because and that's the mental, like that's what makes it tough.
Like work through it, work through that straight away.
Yeah, it's almost switching the pain off and going into. Is it more of a performance state? Like, oh, I'm going on there, I'm on the stage, and I've got to put on this performance.
For me, it is. Me, it is. Like I look at it from. I mean, for me, it's the second I arrive in the arena, because I like to do extra stuff. I like to take multiple pictures with fans before the game. Okay. Never mind after the game. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's like from as soon as I get to the arena, but from when I step on the ice in warm up, that's when the show starts. I'm throwing some pucks over. I'm having the slam on the glass and wanting to take a picture and all that type of stuff, man. I'm all about that. I love it. Like it's a big, entertaiing, fun thing for me. So, and I'm a big kid too, right? So
yeah. but being on stage is like that. It's like when there's a crowd, right? You perform to the crowd, and I thoroughly appreciate that, because like that's what the crowd responds to, and it's like as you say, you work off each other.
Mm. Yeah, you feed off each other, man. And like I said, like when I was younger, I was starstruck, even to see players at like the OHL level, like the major junior level, like they're only teenagers still. And I'm looking at them like, oh, you know, and so I could never understand how guys that I played with, how they could ever be rude to fans, how they could ever, you know, give them the cold, brush them off or pretend they can't hear them or, you know, stuff like that. I would just be like, wow, man, like, I guess they just weren't fans like how I was. Because I'm a fan, I know how important it is just for just 10 seconds, man.
It's like being both sides of the glass. You've been there. And that's the appreciation side.
There you go, man. That's what it is. Just 10 seconds can really change someone's like week, month, year.
Yeah.
You know, make their day, man.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a small thing to say, hey, wait, whoa, photo, whatever. Because that, as you say, lifts them, and it just creates that little moment in time stays with them forever.
It does. And I don't know what kind of time period we're running in with here, but I'll just give you a quick example.
Keep going.
It's my third year pro, okay? And, you know, because Rochester and Buffalo are so close together, like it's only like an hour drive from the AHL to the NHL team, we're able to go to any Sabres game we want. Like, we just have to call ahead and tell them how many of us are coming, and you know, and then they'll put the passes at the will call office, right?
Yeah.
So a handful of us would go every week, and the Pittsburgh Penguins were coming into town. You know, Mario Lemieux, one of my favorite players, right? He was still playing at that time. This was in the early 2000s, and so after the game, you know, we're waiting around for a couple of our buddies that we played with like last year on Rochester. You know, they're coming out in Buffalo, whatever. You know, we're all really close friends, and you know, the visiting team, they're all out there too. And Mario, he had this thing where he barely played on the road in Buffalo. They'd always kind of give him the night off. It was just like maybe because Buffalo's so close to Montreal, where he's from, maybe his family would come to see him and they'd kind of give him a pass, or I'm not really sure. But he wasn't playing that night. So he was already out waiting, like, you know, for the Penguins guys. We're all kind of looking at him. And one guy on our team, Jason Pomenville, who ended up having a great NHL career, he's from Montreal. He knew Mario.
Yeah.
You guys keep looking at Mario. Like, you guys want to meet him? We're like, shut up, Palmer. You don't know him like that. He's like, yeah, I do, man. We're from Repetition, wherever they're from, right? So he goes over there, grabs Super Mario's arm, and says, hey, these guys are my team. They're big fans, Mario. Do you mind coming over? He's like, yeah. So this guy's 6'6", man. I think my hands are big. Mario's hands are like twice my size. Comes over. Oh, how are you doing? I'm Mario Lemieux. Buddy, I was starstruck. And here I am 3 years into pro already played in that now, right? And I was like, how you doing, Mario Lemieux? Yeah, that's how big of a fan I am.
Brilliant story.
You better believe if someone asks me for a picture or an autograph, obviously I'm saying yes. Like I can't believe guys that don't want to do it. It blows my mind.
It's this wrong. It's that. I mean, like, if you're playing and you're open, you're public, and the part of the job is that as well. It's all part and parcel.
It comes with the territory for sure.
Dead right. Yeah, dead right.
Awesome. So we've gone over again on our time, but I don't care. I'm having too much fun. Editor Dan, you can deal with this. That's the end of period 2. We're going to come back in period 3 with more from the sheriff in that period. So listen to these ads, have some fun, and we'll see you after the break. So we're back from another break, and we're back with another period. We're back with the sheriff as well. Usually the way we kick off period 3 is we go over some news, or I go over some news. The only news really that has been out since our last episode, since we recorded last, is that there was a UK draft tournament. That's draft as in draft beer. There was 4 teams in Sheffield, Coors Light, Guinness, Heineken and Budweiser. Coors Light won out in the end. So congratulations to them. Hopefully it's something that carries on year. It looked great fun. There was lots of extracurricular activities happening in the bars afterwards as well. Obviously being a draft tournament and being a rec hockey, beer league hockey thing, there was plenty of fun and antics had off the ice as well as on the ice. We follow those guys on Instagram, and hopefully it comes around again next year. But we're going to get back into it with Sean. We're going to back into it with the Sheriff. The third period, I'm going to throw out a topic there, and I've kind of discussed this before, and we've kind of gone over it a little bit in our other periods. But you had on one of Sean, on one of your most recent episodes, one of my favorite episodes to listen to. If anybody hasn't, go and listen to it. Is the Sean Parker episode, the original Sheriff out there. Yeah,
the Sheriff Scott Parker.
Yeah, and that was a fantastic episode. And one of the things that he brought up is there's not really any characters in the league anymore. There's no kind of showcase guys. There's Ryan Reeves and there's Tom Wilson, and they're probably getting kind of the most kind of extracurricular stuff. But I wanted to throw it to you first as to why there isn't that characters anymore. You know, your Sean Avery's and guys like that.
Well, I mean, getting insight from some of the NHL guys that I've had on my show, and then combined with what I've seen, pretty much what the thing that keeps reoccurring is that the NHL is the old boys club that wants to stay under the radar for some reason. It's very weird. It's very weird because the TV ratings for the NHL in the US are terrible, right? So you would think that Gary Bettman and the boys would want to like spice things up a little bit. You know what I mean? But they don't. They just want it to be calm, cool, and collective. They don't really want to focus on superstars. They want to more so have it for teams. Where like the NBA, they're all about their stars, like LeBron James. You know, so like it's weird. Like, I think they just need to get fresh blood in there, man. Like, how long has Gary Bettman been there? Like, get him out of there. Like, get someone else in there. The ratings aren't doing that well. Like, come on, man. It's not like that they're having incredible years, and then it's not like that. And then I'll tell you guys a little bit of insight. Me and Parker talked about this too. The NHL won't even allow players that want to be extracurricular to even do so. And a great example is Curtis Gabriel. Played for the San Jose Sharks last year. I had him on my podcast, and we were going over some things, and he was trying to get things going like he'd warm up. And there was the one warm up where he cross-checked McQuaid or whatever that big guy's name was on LA. And, you know, he was like, we're going tonight, man. And, you know, trying to get things going, trying to get the boys' blood flowing. And then, you know, they ended up fighting in the first period, and McQuaid even got the better of Gabriel. But he just wanted to show the boys that he was willing to take on one of the toughest guys in the league to show how committed he was, right? And when you see a guy on your team that's willing to do that, it gets you going. Trust me, like, I know that. So now, the NHL wasn't happy about how Curtis Gabriel was chirping in warm-up. Right?
Yeah.
They didn't like it at all. So they put a phone call in to the San Jose Sharks ownership, and San Jose Sharks ownership probably down the totem pole, you know, it got to the coaches, and now Curtis has to come in. You know, this is all like hypothetically, right? But, right? So, you know, Curtis has to go in, and, you know, Curtis, we can't have you acting like that and warm up. You know, we got a call from the league and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Curtis Gabriel is a healthy scratch for the next 9 games.
Yeah.
He sits out.
Even a guy that wants to do it, that wants to be that character, NHL says, no, we're not going to let you do that.
So, like, what you said is like that's being controlled.
Yes, the NHL is holding it down, man. They're not letting anything get noisy. They just want it just like that.
Yeah.
So,
and this leads me on perfectly to where you're going to be playing next year, and leagues like the LNAH and how they kind of spring up. It's because of those guys that try and do it at that level get told no, and they need to find a place to go and play the way they want to. So talk to us about your experiences in the LNAH. Well,
there's a couple different eras of the LNAH. Like, there's the LNAH when I first went there back in 06, 07 or 07, 08. That was one LNAH. And then there's today's LNAH. Today's LNAH is a lot more healthy. It's a lot more skilled, but it still has the beef. And that's the way the NHL was in the 80s and 90s and even early 2000s, right? That's how the LNAH is now. They've taken, like, you know, if you go to Elite League games, how there'll be like 10 forwards and 5D.
Yeah.
So the way the way it used to be in the LNAH was it was 12 and 6, right? 12 forwards, 6 defensemen. So the whole fourth line was going to be heavyweights. Maybe one guy in the third line was going to be a heavyweight, and then one of the defensemen or two was going to be a heavyweight, right? So now you got 7 guys on every team, and it's, or whatever that added up to, and you know, and it's pretty crazy. Now they've taken the 12th forward out, so now it's 11 and 6. So typically, it's just the 2 guys on the fourth line that are the role guys. All the defensemen are, you know, well, mobile defensemen now. You can't even really have a tough guy on D in that league anymore. It's too skilled. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how it is. And to be honest with you, a lot of the teams just have one, right? So you're still seeing it every game because it's part of that culture where, you know, both teams know they you know what I mean? Like it's going to happen. And then you have 3 lines of skilled players, and 2 skilled lines and a grinder line, and then you got the 2 tough guys, and it's a great mix.
Sounds good. Neil, you want to jump in?
So, yes. So, Sean, in your opinion, then, right? Is that like? I know it might be a bit biased, but I mean, in your opinion, is that league so much more entertaining to watch?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. Like you're going to that game. Well, first of all, the people there think that it's the NHL. Because it's these like little towns in Quebec, you know what I mean? And it's just hockey crazed area, right? So they think their team is like, it's like the NHL, the LNH. So, but anyway, so the arenas are packed. You know, people are tailgating before, right? And then you're going to a game where you know you're going to see at least 2 or 3 really good scraps. You're going to see some really good hockey. You're going to see a really good power play. You're going to see some old NHL names in the league now because guys just want to play closer to home. Like, it's pretty awesome, man. But you know what I mean? Action-packed, lots of goals.
But that's like, you know, like I can only say it how I can think it, yeah? So, like, if I've worked hard all week, I've paid my money, I'm going to go and watch, and this is what I want to watch. I'm watching this because this is what I call entertainment. I'm seeing high skill. I'm seeing goals. I'm seeing hits. I'm seeing scraps. I'm watching a game, and I come away from 3 20-minute periods. Wham! I'm in there. I fucking love it. I love
it. Yeah, man.
That's me from a fan. Yeah, that's a fan talking. Because I say I don't know all the names and all the people in the NHL and all that, but when I watch something, you know what you enjoy. If you enjoy it, you're going to go.
100%. I agree with you, Neil.
Cool.
No, it's blown me away. I love my dad and the way that he just kind of he riffs off on things. I love his energy.
No, it's
fantastic.
I love the intensity too.
Yeah.
If I was 30 years younger, I'll be playing.
There you go, man. I agree.
We have to fly him out to Quebec and get into one of them.
Don't fly me out. I'm going nowhere. I ain't fighting no one.
So I wanted to leave a lot of time for the bit that we leave at the end. I want to leave plenty of time for us to kind of dive into a section of the show that I wholeheartedly enjoy, and the fact that it's been around since episode 4, I think, is my favorite thing, is a question from the guest. So over to you, Sean. We're going in blind. We don't know anything about this. Me or Neil haven't got any prep. So go ahead. What's the OT question? Let's get into it. Let's dive into it.
Okay, so the question that I have for you, my friend, is I understand that you're doing this podcast right now, and I can emphasize with that because I started my podcast as well, right?
Yeah.
What I really want to know is, what has this experience brought to you? What stands out the most? What's come to you through the show?
The sense of community. You can talk to anybody in the hockey world about hockey. Doesn't matter if there's a language barrier. Doesn't matter if they're halfway across the world. Doesn't matter if they're all the way across the world. They could be in China, anywhere. If you want to talk hockey, there's people to talk hockey, and it is the best community. Whether you are making millions in the NHL or you're playing with your mates on the pond, the people in hockey for me are the best people because we love to share stories, we love to get animated, we love to get after it, and this is this one thing that unifies us. That is a fantastic sport that needs to get more recognition in my opinion. But the thing that I love most about doing this podcast is getting to talk to people, regardless of their background, regardless of where they've played or who they've played for, and that we just end up having a chat and getting along and swapping stories and chatting back and forth. And that's what I love about this. And I'm so glad I've done it. It's something that I thought about for a while, and I thought back and forth, how do I do it? This, that, and the other. And then I just went one day, you know what? Let's just do it. Lockdown hit, COVID hit, awful thing to happen to the world that's still going on. But I'm going to make some good out of it. We can't play hockey. I can't see my friends, but man, I want to talk hockey. I want to see my friends. I want to be around my mates as much as possible. And this is the way I did it. So I grabbed two friends, whether they were willing or not. My regular co-hosts, Ali and Biddy, and we just press record and then let it ride. And then before we know it, it's turned into a bit of a show. We've got a format, and then next thing I know, I've got the Sheriff Sean McMorrow messaging me saying I want to be on the show. And then I'll get another
well done
guys.
you. Well done you, mate. Well done.
Well, thanks for pumping my tires, boys. That's nice.
It's an honor to be on the show, and like it's so cool to hear like that type of like response to the question, because like a lot of that is how I feel too, man. You know what I mean? And like it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Like people coming together, and like you said, with COVID, this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened in the history of the world, guys. You guys know that. This most bizarre thing that we've had to change our lives and lockdowns and all this. It's the most bizarre thing that's happened in the history of the world. Yeah. So we had to find something.
But we found ways around it. Like this, I've never been on a Zoom call, but like talking to you has been like great fun. Listening on his podcast has been a great thing. Drinking a Bud Light is a great thing.
I got a question for your dad too.
Okay. You do your question to my dad, and then I've got one question for you, and I can answer it as well if you want me to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey,
shoot for Neil.
So Neil, now that you're officially, like a host, a co-host, right? Like,
he's part of the roster.
Are you gonna start the Neil show live, or what are you gonna start here? You starting your own show, Neil? I'm hearing rumors.
Well, I mean, for you to say there's rumors, huh? You're the sheriff, and like you should know. So like that rumor must be true.
There's a lot of talk going around, Neil, that there's going to be the Neil Show Live. They're going to call it.
One thing I'm not going to do is steal this man's thunder. It's his show, and I'm just a co-host. Yeah. I'm just the co-host. I don't want to. One thing I didn't want to do is like steal his thunder. He does a great job, and I'm glad I've sat in on this. It's been an honor talking to you. Definitely.
This is the most fun that I've ever had on a show. So your son knows what he's doing.
Shut up! You're blowing smoke now. You're blowing smoke.
Yeah, pumping my tires.
I'm being dead serious.
Cool.
I've got one question. It is podcast related. And do you have a list? Because I sure as hell I've got one. Do you have your what I call white whales? Your kind of like, I want to get these guys, and who's heading that list? Who's your top three right now? Or have you had them? That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, Don Cherry was one, right? And I was blessed to have him as a special guest. I try to have guests on my show that have had big impacts in my career and my journey. So it's a little bit different for me, like as a former player. Like I've like most of the guys on my show that I know, I've interacted and been intertwined in my career. And they've had big impacts. Like a guy like Brandon Sugden. He was my rival for 3 straight seasons. You know what I mean? Rochester and Syracuse. Man, did we ever have some battles? Alex Penner. It was a huge thing, me and Weapon X, like, doing that radio show, playing against each other, heavyweight champ, all that kind of stuff. Same thing with Mike Scroy. we're able to talk about, what it was like facing off each other when I went into Sheffield, and we had those 3 fights in the one game.
Yeah.
We were able to talk about all that, right? And then people get to see like what it's really like, and these guys are really, these guys are just like everybody else. They're just doing their job, and like listen to them talk about it. And you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a really cool angle that I get to be able to do because I played with so many guys, and I'm really able to talk to them about things that we both really know about, right? So it's yeah, man, it's a cool thing, man. And
it's a what's name? It's a leveler, isn't it?
It's a part of it.
It's a leveler, isn't it? When you meet somebody that you've had an experience with like that at a later stage, and you find that the experience is almost like the same. They're talking at the same thing, and it's a leveler. It's like it puts you at ease, them at ease. It's like, and he can call this is all good.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah,
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, it's incredible experience. That's for sure.
Well,
yeah, it's this sort of chat is fantastic. I've got one more lined up this month. A guy I think you really should try and get in contact with. A guy called David Ling.
Oh yeah, Linger. Yeah,
Linger.
He actually played for the same, like he played a couple games for the same LNH team that I had been playing for. I don't know how he qualified. I guess he went through the Quebec system or something, but yeah, I talked to him because he called me to ask me what it was like.
Right.
Great guy, great character. And man, was he ever a tough little forward.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He could hold his own.
Yeah,
he could hold his own.
We had him over in Nottingham for a few years, and
that's right.
A fan favorite.
Oh yeah,
loved by everyone, and it's a silky smooth player that can rough it with the best. Go ahead.
Yeah, he was playing in Syracuse when I was in Rochester too, and I remember he's a good player too, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
We was at a dinner and he was on our table.
Oh yeah, okay. So we'll tell this story. So after 10 years of service to a team, the UK elite league teams do what's called a testimonial.
Oh yeah.
So they get back a load of old players. They have numerous events throughout a week or a month or a couple of months or whatever. And we went along to a draft dinner. I did surprise my parents that I was going to be a GM of one of the teams or a coach of one of the teams. So I got to draft a team of players. They had no idea about it. It was great. That was fun. Yeah. So we go to this dinner. I get called up on stage to be part of this draft that we'd pre-done, and Linger is on the table that with me and my parents and a couple of friends and stuff as well. And yeah, so we got to chat to him quite a bit. The only unfortunate part is that I never picked him for my team. So it was really awkward being sat there with him, and we just didn't pick him. But then Neil had a great fun with him. Go ahead.
So he sat down, and I says, "How come you're not wearing a tie?" He went, "Why?" So I pulled a tie up, which I had a spare tie, in just in case I got dinner down it. I said, "Can you put this on if you're sitting with us? Because I don't want you to lower the tone." He didn't like that. He sort of he didn't get the funny side of it, and like the English humour didn't go across the pond.
Yeah, buddy. No, that you know what? That's hilarious. But yeah, no, I could definitely see like he must have taken it out of context, right?
Yeah, I think he was just caught a little bit off guard. I don't think he was expecting somebody to be challenging him on a table at a testimonial dinner.
Yeah, guess what? Woo!
Yeah, and he gets me. But the thing is though, he gets me back the next year. So the next year it's another testimonial. He's back over again for another player, and this time round they're allowing a few fans to get on the ice and play. And I'm like, I've got to be involved in this. I've got to be involved. So I stump up the cash. I jumped on. And lo and behold, Linger's on the other side, and I get to play a shift or two against Linger 3-on-3. And before I know it, he's up against the boards on me, trying to put me in the bench, trying to butt end me and stuff. And then he skates away with that big Linger laugh and big Linger smile that he's got on his face. And then my bench say, "Don't go after." I take 2 steps, and then it twigs like, oh, it's Linger. Don't go near him. I didn't change any quicker in my life. It was brilliant. It was great fun. I jumped off. Somebody else can go on. You go face him. I'm done now.
I love
That's a cool story right there.
Yeah, that's something that's wicked.
Just have some fun with it. Just have some fun. It's great. It's what it's all about.
I know.
Memories.
And then, but Ling as a character, and hopefully we can figure it out in a couple of weeks and we can get him on, and that's going to be an episode for you guys listening to look forward to.
Well, I'll sit in on that one, and I'll wear a tie.
You want to sit in on that one too? Do you?
Yeah.
It looks like we've got a dress code for that one, Linger, if you're listening. So we've come to the end of our time. I wish we could do another 3 hours of this because, man, it's been fun. And my cheeks are hurting from how much I'm smiling throughout this.
Me too.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, great. So thank you so much to everybody out there. Thank you, firstly, to Neil for coming on and being a co-host, my dad. Thank you, of course, to the sheriff. He has his own podcast. He will tell you now where to find it and how to get on and listen to his episodes. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, for sure. So we're on all social media accounts. So on Twitter, it's the Sheriff Podcast, Instagram, the Sheriff Podcast, Facebook, the Sheriff Podcast, and then of course all the different platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, and Anchor.
Oh, that was very professional. He's done that before, folks.
Hey.
So that only leaves me to thank the listeners for listening to another fantastic show. I've been your host, Max. This has been Let's Talk Hockey with the Sheriff. Woo! As he does at the end of his episodes. Thank you so much for listening. There it is. And signing out. We'll see you on the next one. Take care and we'll catch you next time.